Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack, and I worked as a long-haul trucker for over 15 years. Now, at 50, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. But my years on the road brought me through many experiences that I'll never forget. Driving through the lonely highways of the United States at night lends itself to strange and sometimes terrifying encounters. This is one of the stories that marked me the most. I was leaving Phoenix and heading towards Albuquerque, one of my regular routes. It was a dark and silent night, perfect for driving without traffic. At a rest stop, I left around 10 p.m., well rested after a long nap. Everything seemed normal until an inexplicable event changed the course of my journey and left a lasting impression on my life. I always enjoyed the tranquility of the night, with the stars shining and the constant hum of the truck's engine. However, that night, something different was about to happen. It's ironic how a seemingly peaceful routine can take an unexpected turn and lead us to experiences that challenge our understanding of reality. The journey began like any other, with the familiarity of the road and the expectation of reaching my destination without any hitches. The highway was empty after several hours of driving. I was enjoying the serenity of the night when, suddenly, I noticed a black truck that appeared out of nowhere and started following me. At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was another driver who had decided to take a break before continuing his journey. But as the miles passed, the constant presence of the truck began to unsettle me. As I drove on, I noticed the black truck maintaining a constant distance behind me. Every time I slowed down to let it pass, the truck would slow down too. I tried signaling with my lights to have it overtake me, but it didn't. The unease transformed into a sense of constant surveillance, as though an unknown entity was scrutinizing me. The night grew darker and quieter as I continued my drive. I began to feel more affected than I wanted to admit. I wondered who could be driving that truck and why they weren't trying to overtake me. The possibilities were many. A lost driver, someone with bad intentions, or maybe something more inexplicable. My mind kept imagining increasingly disturbing scenarios. After a couple of hours, I decided to stop at a service station to use the bathroom and buy some food. I hoped the truck would continue its journey and leave me alone. However, when I turned to enter the station, the truck also turned, but stayed on the road with its lights on. This only heightened my discomfort. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I watched the lights shine in the darkness. I entered the station store trying to stay calm. I bought coffee and some food, but my mind was occupied with the truck's presence. Every time I looked outside, I saw the bright lights of the black truck, like watchful eyes in the dark. I couldn't understand why someone would follow me for so long without trying to overtake or communicate with me. The uncertainty and fear mixed, creating an atmosphere of tension that I couldn't ignore. As I left the store, I noticed that the black truck was still in the same spot. I took a deep breath and headed towards it with determination. I knocked on the window several times, but there was no response. The windows were dark and I couldn't see anything inside. I knocked again and shouted, "Hey, what's your problem? Why are you following me?" However, the truck remained silent. My frustration grew and fear mixed with anger. Suddenly, the truck started, almost running me over. I quickly stepped back, my heart pounding. I watched as it sped away down the highway. Although I felt relieved that it had gone, I couldn't stop wondering what had happened and why it had followed me for so long. I got into my truck, ignited the engine, and proceeded with my journey. Yet the sense of surveillance persisted. I decided to stay at the service station a bit longer, trying to calm my nerves before continuing. I lit a cigarette and stood by my truck, watching the empty road. The black truck had vanished, but its presence still weighed on my mind. Who was behind that vehicle? Why had they followed me? The silence of the night only made my thoughts more intense. After a few minutes, I felt calm enough to resume my journey. I got into the truck and checked the mirrors several times before starting. The highway was empty, and the truck's lights illuminated the darkness as I continued my journey. I tried to focus on the music playing on the radio, but my mind kept returning to the black truck and the mysterious driver. The tension in my body didn't go away. As I continued driving, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I constantly checked the mirrors, expecting to see the truck's lights again. Every shadow and every reflection made me jump. The highway, which used to be a place of peace for me, had turned into a trap of anxiety. I continued to feel as though someone was following me, and I struggled to overcome the paranoia. The fear had taken root deep in my mind. Suddenly, I noticed something in the rearview mirror. The black truck's lights appeared again, seemingly out of nowhere, and were quickly approaching. My heart raced, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. It felt like time stood still as I watched the lights get closer. What did this person want? Why wouldn't they leave me alone? The truck got so close that I could see its grille reflected in my side mirrors, and the sense of imminent danger made me make a decision. I had to find a safe place with more people and resolve this mystery once and for all. I decided that I couldn't keep driving with that constant feeling of danger. I needed a solution, and soon. Seeing a sign indicating a rest area ahead, I knew I had to stop there and ask other truckers for help. The idea of facing this mystery alone was too overwhelming. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly 3 a.m., and the highway remained empty, save for the steadfast presence of the black truck. I reached the rest area and parked my truck near two other parked trucks. I turned off the engine and looked around, searching for any sign of movement. The black truck had stopped at a safe distance, as if waiting. I took a deep breath and approached the other drivers. I needed to share what was happening and seek support. I found a couple of truckers awake, drinking coffee and chatting. I quickly explained the situation, mentioning the black truck that had been following me for hours. Their faces showed surprise and concern. One of them, an older man with years of experience on the road, looked at me intently and said, "This isn't the first time I've heard something like this. We've seen that truck before, and there's always something strange about it." With their support, we approached the black truck. Fear and adrenaline mixed as we got closer to the vehicle. I knocked on the window again, but there was no response. One of the truckers suggested we try to open the door. When we did, we discovered that the truck was empty. There were no signs of life, just an eerie coldness in the air. It was as if the driver had vanished into thin air, leaving behind an even deeper mystery. As the night progressed, we decided not to stay at the rest area any longer. The feeling of danger was too intense, and the mystery of the black truck remained unsolved. We got back into our trucks and agreed to stay in contact via radio as we continued our journey. The highway remained deserted, and although the black truck had disappeared, the fear didn't leave us. I drove with all my senses on high alert. Every shadow on the road seemed to come to life, and every noise increased my paranoia. Suddenly I saw the black truck's lights in the rearview mirror again. My heart started pounding, and I felt a knot in my stomach. How was it possible that it was back? I warned my companions over the radio, and they were also on high alert. The truck approached quickly, and this time, it didn't try to keep its distance. Instead, it lined up next to me, its blinding lights reflecting in my mirrors. I glanced sideways and could see an indistinct figure at the wheel, but the dark windows prevented me from seeing more. My mind was filled with questions and terror. I tried to stay calm and keep driving, hoping it would get tired and leave. Without warning, the black truck made a sudden move, lightly bumping into my truck. The impact caused me to momentarily lose control of the wheel, but I managed to stay on the road. The truck continued to press against me, as if trying to force me off the highway. The minutes felt like hours, and the fear turned into pure adrenaline. I knew I had to do something before the situation got worse. In a moment of desperation, I sharply turned the wheel to the right, forcing the truck to back off. I felt a momentary relief, but I knew I couldn't let my guard down. The truck slowed down and finally disappeared into the distance. Over the radio, my companions reassured me, but the fear persisted. We knew the mystery of the black truck wasn't over, and it could return at any moment. After the close encounter with the black truck, the tension on the highway increased significantly. My fellow truckers and I decided not to stop until we reached a safer place. We maintained constant communication over the radio, sharing any unusual sightings on the road. The fear of another attack from the mysterious truck kept us alert, but it also gave us a sense of camaraderie. As we continued, the black truck disappeared again into the distance. Several hours passed with no sign of it. We started to relax a bit, thinking we might have left the danger behind. However, the fear persisted, and every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I expected to see those eerie lights approaching again. We reached a small town, where we decided to stop for a rest and refuel. We parked our trucks in a safe area, went to a nearby diner for some hot coffee, and discussed what had happened. The black truck hadn't reappeared, and we began to believe that maybe we had finally shaken it off. Still, the experience left an indelible mark on all of us. While we were at the diner, a local trucker approached us. He had overheard our conversation and told us that the black truck was well known in the area. Many drivers had reported similar encounters, but no one knew who drove it or why it followed people. His stories only heightened our fear and made us doubt that we were truly safe. After resting a bit and discussing our options, we decided to continue our journey. The morning was about to break, and the first light of dawn offered a sense of security. However, the memory of the black truck was still fresh in our minds. We promised to stay vigilant and keep in constant contact. We drove in a convoy, and I was in the middle of the other two trucks. Suddenly, without warning, I saw the black truck appear on the horizon, quickly approaching. I alerted my companions over the radio, and we all prepared for the worst. The truck came at a great speed, and my heart began to pound as I tried to stay calm and control it. The truck approached dangerously close, and again it started to bump my truck, trying to force me off the road. The impact was stronger this time, and I lost control of the wheel. My truck veered off the road, breaking through a fence and stopping in the middle of a field. Fortunately, I escaped unharmed, but the engine stalled, leaving me unable to restart it. My companions immediately stopped to help me. As we tried to assess the damage, the black truck stopped at a short distance and turned off its lights. The sense of danger was palpable, and the fear of the unknown enveloped us. One of my companions suggested we call the police, but we knew that in this remote area, they might take a long time to arrive. We decided to stick together and be prepared for anything. The black truck remained an unresolved enigma, and our night of terror was far from over. I was stuck in the middle of the field with my truck's engine dead, and the darkness of the night became increasingly oppressive. I looked around and saw that the black truck was still there, motionless, like a sinister shadow watching my every move. My companions, though worried, were trying to find a quick solution to get my truck running and get us out of there. The feeling of imminent danger was palpable, and the fear began to turn into panic. I tried to start the engine several times, but it wouldn't respond. The frustration and fear had taken over. My companions were also nervous, checking their own vehicles and making sure everything was in order. We decided to try pushing my truck to move it out of the field and closer to the road, hoping that with a bit of luck, the engine would start. But every attempt seemed futile, and the black truck remained a constant threat in the darkness. Suddenly, the lights of the black truck turned on, illuminating the night with a cold and piercing light. My heart was racing as I watched the vehicle slowly approach. We couldn't wait any longer. We knew we had to do something before it was too late. With one last glance at my companions, I made the decision to confront the black truck driver once more, hoping to get some answers. Armed with a flashlight and a metal rod I'd found in my truck, I walked towards it. My steps were slow and cautious, and every crunch under my feet increased my anxiety. I knocked on the window hard and shouted, "Who are you and what do you want?" The window rolled down slowly, revealing a dark figure at the wheel. I felt a shiver run down my spine when a low, guttural voice responded, "I just wanted you to see me." The response from the figure in the black truck was as puzzling as it was terrifying. "I just wanted you to see me," echoed in my mind as I tried to process what was happening. The dark figure at the wheel didn't move, and a sense of unreality enveloped me. It was like being trapped in a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. I decided to shine my flashlight into the truck, hoping to see more details. To my surprise, the flashlight revealed that the driver's seat was empty. There was no one at the wheel. I stepped back, incredulous and terrified. How was it possible? It felt like the black truck was playing with my mind, distorting reality in a way I couldn't comprehend. I looked at my companions, who had also seen the same thing, and shared my expression of horror and confusion. We decided to back away from the truck and return to our vehicles, seeking a sense of security in their familiarity. However, the fear persisted, and we knew we couldn't stay there indefinitely. One of my companions suggested that we try calling the police again, hoping that this time they could arrive more quickly. As we waited, the tension in the air was almost unbearable. Several minutes passed, and the black truck remained still, its lights off. Finally, we heard police sirens in the distance, slowly approaching. The sense of relief was immense, but we also knew that the answers wouldn't be easy to find. When the officers arrived, we explained what had happened, and although they were skeptical, they began to investigate the truck. When they opened it, they confirmed what we already knew. It was completely empty. However, they found an old photo on the passenger seat, a faded image of a smiling family. The officers looked at each other, recognizing the photo as part of an unresolved case from many years ago. After the police checked the black truck and found the old photo, one of the officers approached us. He explained that the picture belonged to a family that had mysteriously disappeared years ago. The officer reported seeing the black truck on several occasions, always under strange and disturbing circumstances. A shiver ran down our spines as we listened to the story. As the officers continued their investigation, an elderly man approached us. He seemed to know the area well and introduced himself as Mr. Julian, an old resident of the region. In a grave and measured voice, he told us that the family in the photo had been well loved in the community before they vanished without a trace. They say their spirits still wander these lands, seeking justice or perhaps just company, Mr. Julian said, looking towards the black truck. Mr. Julian explained that he had seen the truck several times over the years, always appearing and disappearing in moments of great tension or danger. According to him, the truck was trapped in a sort of time loop, repeating the last moments of the missing family. It's like they're looking for someone to see them, someone who can tell their story, Mr. Julian concluded, his voice resonating with a tone of sadness and mystery. As we listened to Mr. Julian, we began to understand that we had been part of something much bigger and darker than we could have imagined. We mixed our feelings of fear and awe with a kind of empathy for the lost family. We wondered if there was anything we could do to help them, or if there was any way to bring them peace. The night had revealed more questions than answers, and we knew our lives would never be the same after this encounter. With Mr. Julian's story echoing in our minds, the police continued their investigation. One of the officers asked us to stay nearby while they searched the area for more clues. We decided to stick together, feeling that the group's presence provided some safety amidst the unknown. The black truck remained an unsettling mystery that we needed to solve. As we walked around the area, one of the officers found something that left us all breathless. A few yards from the truck, hidden among the bushes, were human remains. The officers quickly cordoned off the area and started a formal investigation, but not before we saw the decomposed and skeletal bodies. It was a macabre sight that we will never forget. The remains seemed to have been there for a long time, possibly since the family's disappearance. The police worked quickly to secure the scene and start an official inquiry. Meanwhile, we gathered near our trucks, trying to process what we had seen. The discovery of the bodies added an even darker layer to the story of the black truck. We felt like we had witnessed something supernatural and deeply disturbing. The feeling of danger and sadness was overwhelming. Mr. Julian, who had stayed with us, seemed more resigned than surprised. "I always knew something like this would happen sooner or later," he murmured, looking at the scene with a melancholic expression. He informed us that he had repeatedly attempted to alert the local authorities over the years, only to have his concerns dismissed. Now, finally, the truth was coming to light, but at a very high cost. As we watched the police work, we knew our lives had changed forever. After the grim discovery, the police asked us to stay in the area to give our statements. Although we were exhausted and deeply disturbed by what we had witnessed, we knew it was important to cooperate. While we waited, they allowed us to rest in our trucks. But sleep was impossible. Every shadow and nocturnal sound reminded us of the black truck and the bodies we had discovered. Finally, a detective approached us to take our statements. He was a serious man with tired eyes who showed a mix of compassion and professionalism. We told him everything we had seen and experienced, from the first sighting of the black truck to the discovery of the human remains. The detective listened attentively, asking detailed questions to ensure we didn't miss any details. The detective explained that the photo found in the truck was key to an open investigation into the missing family. He showed us more photos of the family members, trying to match them with the remains found. It was evident that this case had been a heavy burden for him and his team for years. He thanked us for our cooperation and assured us they would do everything possible to solve the mystery. Before leaving, the detective gave us his cards and asked us to contact him if we remembered anything else or noticed anything strange. Although we felt a bit more relieved knowing that the police were involved, the fear and unease didn't go away. We knew that the highway would never be the same for us, and that this encounter with the inexplicable had marked us forever. While the police continued their investigation, we decided to meet once more to discuss what had happened. We sat in a circle, sharing our impressions and fears. One of the truckers, Mike, mentioned that he had heard about similar cases in the region, where mysterious trucks or vehicles appeared and disappeared without explanation. His words only added to our concerns. The lead detective joined our conversation, interested in hearing more about these stories. Mike shared a friend's story about a ghost truck that tracked drivers for miles before disappearing. Although these stories had always been considered urban legends, our experience made us reconsider their truth. The detective took notes, clearly interested in any possible connections. As we shared our experiences, we began to notice a disturbing pattern. Many of us had encountered strange phenomena on the road, but never as intense as the encounter with the black truck. The detective proposed a possible connection between these incidents, suggesting they could be manifestations of past tragic events. He requested that we keep our eyes open and report anything unusual. By the end of the meeting, we felt a mix of relief and despair. Relief comes from sharing our stories and finding support among ourselves, but despair comes from the magnitude of the mystery surrounding us. We knew that our lives had irrevocably changed, and that every trip on the road would be a constant reminder of that night. The detective thanked us again and promised to keep us informed of any developments in the investigation. As time passed, life slowly returned to normal, but the scars from that night never fully healed. We continued with our usual routes, but every time we passed the area where everything had happened, a chill ran down our spines. The black truck, the bodies found, and Mr. Julian's stories remained a constant presence in our minds. The police investigation lasted for months. Occasionally, we received updates from the lead detective. He shared new findings with us, yet the entire mystery remained unsolved. The black truck stopped appearing, at least for a while, but the legends and rumors within the trucker community persisted. Many of us avoided the area whenever possible. The memories of that night turned into tales shared at rest stops and trucker meetups. Each time we told the story, we felt a mix of fear and catharsis. We knew we had witnessed something supernatural, something that defied all logical explanations. That experience had bonded us in a way that few things could, creating a link based on shared terror. Sometimes in the darkest and quietest nights, when the road stretched endlessly ahead of us, we thought about the missing family and the black truck. We wondered if their spirits would ever find peace, and if we ourselves could leave behind the fear that had accompanied us since then. But one thing was certain: that night had changed our lives forever, and its memories would never fully fade. With the passage of time, we tried to move on, but the experience had left a deep impact. Each trip on the highway reminded us of that fateful night. The fear of encountering the black truck again never truly disappeared. We stayed vigilant, always looking over our shoulders, haunted by the possibility of it returning. The trucker community remained tight-knit, sharing news stories and keeping each other informed about any strange occurrences. The legend of the black truck grew, becoming part of the folklore among long-haul drivers. Newcomers to the profession heard our stories and added their own experiences, blending reality with myth. Despite the fear, there was a sense of solidarity among us. We knew we weren't alone in our experiences. We supported each other, sharing tips on how to stay safe and how to cope with the lingering anxiety. The road, once a place of solitude, had become a place where we found strength in numbers. As we continued our journeys, the black truck faded into the background, but it never completely left our thoughts. It served as a reminder of the inexplicable and the unknown, a symbol of the dangers that could lurk in the shadows. We learned to live with the fear, using it to stay alert and protect ourselves. However, we also understood that we might never fully understand some mysteries, and some stories would always remain unfinished. As we tried to resume our normal lives, the memories of that night stayed with us, a constant reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the shadows. Every journey felt different, with the familiar roads now carrying a weight of unease. We became more cautious, always on alert for anything out of the ordinary. The bond between us truckers grew stronger. We formed a close-knit community, always ready to support one another. Our shared experience became a source of strength, and we often gathered to discuss safety measures and share updates about any strange sightings. The black truck had left an indelible mark on us, but it also brought us closer together. A lingering anxiety tempered the thrill of the open road as I continued to drive. Every rest stop, every stretch of lonely highway held potential for the unknown. I found myself looking in the rearview mirror more often, the fear of seeing those haunting lights never far from my mind. Yet I refused to let the fear control me. The road was my life, and I was determined to face whatever came my way. Despite the unease, there was a sense of resilience among us. We learned to adapt and use our fear as a tool to stay vigilant. The legend of the black truck became a part of our stories, a cautionary tale that we shared with new drivers. It was a reminder that the road, while offering freedom and adventure, also held mysteries that defied explanation. As time went on, the black truck sightings became less frequent, but the legend never faded. It remained a topic of conversation among truckers, a story that we revisited whenever we gathered. The fear had transformed into a profound comprehension of the unknown, acknowledging that certain aspects of life defied explanation. The police investigation eventually reached a standstill, with no new leads or significant breakthroughs. We identified the remains found near the black truck as those of the missing family, confirming part of the mystery but leaving many questions unanswered. We closed the case, but the story remained far from over for us. The black truck continued to haunt our thoughts and dreams. I found solace in talking with fellow truckers who had experienced similar encounters. We shared our fears and coping strategies, helping each other to navigate the psychological impact of our experiences. The sense of community and mutual support was invaluable, giving us strength to continue our journeys on the road. In the end, we learned to live with the mystery. The black truck became a symbol of the unknown dangers of the road, a reminder that life was full of uncertainties. While we might never fully understand what had happened, we found peace in the camaraderie of our fellow drivers and the shared knowledge that we were not alone. The road ahead was still filled with challenges, but we faced them together, united by our experiences and our resolve to keep moving forward. I really hope you like this tale. I am thrilled to share these stories with you. Share this video with others so that we can keep growing and more stories can reach more people. Kindly provide your thoughts and experiences in the comments section. It will aid in my further development. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Many thanks, and I hope to see you again soon.